I'm sure you've heard people say that you should learn from your mistakes, but what does that actually mean in practice? In this video, I'm going to talk about a huge mistake I made and how I learned from it, and I'll give you some tips on how, in general, to approach learning from mistakes. Hey, how's it going? This is Scruffy Leadership, a YouTube channel about management and leadership aimed particularly at software engineers. My name's Ben, and I've been a leader and a manager in the tech industry in the UK and the US for over 25 years. Many years ago, I ran a project that was basically a dumpster fire from start to finish, and the fact that it was a dumpster fire was almost entirely my fault. We set up a project in partnership with a team that didn't really want to partner with us. We went in thinking we knew what the solution to their problem was without really ever finding out what problem they wanted to have solved. And for various reasons, given the time and the state of things, it was the wrong problem for us to be trying to tackle anyway. In case all of that doesn't sound bad enough, we ran this project for over a year with a team of around 10 people before finally, thankfully, killing the project. So much wasted time on our side, as well as time spent by the partner team supporting our efforts, even though they didn't really want those efforts in the first place. Once the project was killed, I was hugely relieved, and so was everyone else, but I also felt this deep sense of humiliation. I'd failed. I'd led a team into a project that was doomed to fail from the start. It was embarrassing, and at first I didn't want to talk about it or even think about it. I wanted to wipe the memory of this horrible experience from my mind, and ideally from history. Luckily, around that time, I had a conversation with a mentor that I really trusted. He told me that this experience, this failure, was something that I needed to go through, and that the most important thing was that I learn from it. And those words completely shifted my perspective, not overnight, but gradually over the following months. I started talking about the project, talking about what had gone wrong, both with people who had been involved in the project and people who hadn't. I listed explicitly the key mistakes I'd made, and what we should do differently next time as a result. I probably overcorrected a bit, but I've ended up concluding that that's actually okay. The key thing there was that I was aware that I was overcorrecting. I was overly cautious about taking on new projects, but I allowed myself to be influenced back towards a middle ground by colleagues. One thing was for sure, I wasn't going to repeat the mistakes I'd made on this project again. Now imagine if we'd managed to limp that project over the finish line and it was a success. We might have finished it off and moved on, learning almost nothing from the experience. We would have been exhausted and sick of the project, but we'd be able to tell ourselves that it had succeeded, so no need to go back and dissect it, nothing to learn. In this hypothetical situation, we'd have been completely wrong. In spite of the outcome, there'd still have been a lot to learn from the project. We just would have used its so-called success as a convenient excuse not to learn from it. So this is part of why I say that we learn the most from our failures, not from our successes. So what should you take away from this? Well, the first and most obvious thing is that you should talk about your mistakes. If you don't talk about them, if you hide them away in a locked drawer in the back of your mind, you will not learn from them. And here's the thing, the first time you have a conversation about your mistake, it'll be hard, maybe really hard. Maybe it won't go very well. But each time you do it, each time you talk about the time you screwed up, it'll get easier. Don't let yourself off the hook. Don't blame someone else. Don't pretend it was out of your control. Own the mistakes you made. They're your mistakes, and you can't exactly be proud of them, but you can see them as a part of your history, and you can make the choice that they will have a positive effect on your future, not a negative one. The next thing is to actually pull out lessons from what happened. There might be very narrow, specific things that you just learn not to do again or to do differently, but the most useful lessons are often the more general ones. In the case of my example of one of the key lessons I learned was to start projects by talking to a potential partner team and understanding what their needs were. And if they didn't really have a need or didn't show enthusiasm for working with us, then we should move on to a different potential partner. Write the lessons that you learn down. Tell your team about them. When someone new joins your team, tell them about it too. Tell them the whole story. If you tell someone the lesson, they might remember it, but if you tell the story behind the lesson, they almost certainly will remember it. Another thing you can sometimes learn from your own mistakes is something about yourself. Maybe you learn a little more about your own strengths and weaknesses. This might lead you to understand your own development needs a little better. Or in some cases, it might lead you to realize that there's a certain type of work you just aren't suited to. Now, don't jump to that latter conclusion too quickly. It can be an easy overreaction to make. I totally screwed up that one-to-one with my report and now they hate me. Clearly, I'm no good at running one-to-ones, so I should just stop doing them. That's definitely not the right way to learn from a mistake. A better response might be to identify a mentor, someone that's known for running really effective one-to-ones that you trust. Tell them about your experience and ask for their advice. Notice the common pattern here. The answer is almost always about being open about your mistakes, not keeping them hidden. Another thing you shouldn't do is beat yourself up about your mistakes. Instead, rationally describe the mistake in terms of what went wrong and what you can learn from it. Rather than hitting yourself over the head because you got cross and shouted at your report, Think carefully about what happened, what led to the incident, and see what you can learn from it. Oh, and apologize to the person you shouted at. An apology is very likely to be a good part of moving on from a mistake if the mistake adversely affected someone else. Just as you shouldn't beat yourself up about your own mistakes, you also shouldn't be quick to blame people in your team when they mess up. Blameless postmortems are a really important way to approach things that have gone wrong. In a blameless postmortem, you gather the relevant people together and you discuss what went wrong. You don't talk about who did what wrong, you talk about what the factors were that led to the problem. So not Jack deleted all the code and Eve had forgotten to run the backup process, but all the code was deleted and we didn't have a backup. Blameless postmortems can really help with psychological safety. If your team members know that they will be blamed when something goes wrong, they will be unlikely to admit to ever making mistakes. If they know that their mistakes will be treated impersonally and learned from, they'll be much more forthcoming. If you want to know more about psychological safety and how important it can be, check out this video here. And if you have reactions to this video or questions you'd like to see me answer in future videos, please do comment them below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Bye. See you soon.